What if one of the world's most ancient spiritual texts wasn't a religious scripture at all? What if instead it was a high-performance user's manual for your mind, a practical guide for navigating the chaos of modern life? Well, that's exactly how we're going to look at the Bhagavad Gita today. So let's just start with a radical question. What if the Bhagavad Gita isn't really about ancient gods and warriors? What if it's a super sophisticated technical guide for debugging and upgrading your own mental operating system? Okay, so the story is famously set on this epic battlefield called Kurukshetra. You've got two massive armies. They're about to go at it in this catastrophic war between cousins. Right, so that's the setup we all kind of know. It's our familiar starting point. But here's the twist. The real secret of the Gita is that this battlefield, it isn't a physical place. It's a metaphor for your internal world, that constant war of anxiety, doubt, and conflict that's raging inside all of our heads every single day. All right, let's dive into this allegory. To really get a handle on this internal war, first we need to map out the territory and identify the key players. This is all about breaking down the components of your own consciousness. So first step, Kurukshetra itself. Forget the map. It's not a location. It's a state of being. You know the feeling when you're just totally overwhelmed, paralyzed by some high-stakes decision where every choice feels wrong? Yeah, that's your personal Kurukshetra. And this is where the manual gets really personal, because the characters in the story, they map directly onto you. Arjuna, the legendary warrior who's completely frozen by doubt and anxiety, that's you. That's your conscious self. And Krishna, his charioteer, his guide, that's your higher intellect, that quiet, clear voice of wisdom that's buried under all the emotional noise. The chariot is your physical body. The wild horses pulling it in every direction, those are your five senses, always chasing after the next distraction. And the reins? Well, that's your mind, just trying desperately to keep the whole show on the road. So if we're running this mental software, what's the fundamental bug in the system? You know, the one that causes all this stress and anxiety. The Gita is actually incredibly precise here. It pinpoints a single critical flaw in our code. The Gita lays out this chain reaction, and it's like watching a mental car crash in slow motion. It starts so innocently, right? You just think about something you want. But that thought can quickly lead to attachment. Attachment then morphs into a full-blown craving. And if that craving gets blocked, boom, anger explodes. Anger completely clouds your judgment, and before you know it, you're in a state of total mental and emotional collapse. The Gita's warning is you gotta catch this spiral at step 1 or 2, because once anger takes over, the whole system is already going haywire. Now, this whole bug is fueled by what's called the trap of duality. We spend our entire lives chasing pleasure, chasing success, chasing honor, while at the same time, we're desperately running away from pain, failure, and dishonor. But here's the thing. There are two sides of the exact same coin. As long as you are sprinting towards success, you are automatically chained to the absolute terror of failure. You can't have one without the other. So what's the patch for this glitch? The Gita calls it samatvam. You can just think of it as equanimity. It's this incredible ability to treat both success and failure as simple data points. It's just feedback, that's all. It is not a final judgment on who you are as a person. With equanimity, you basically become a shock absorber for all of life's ups and downs. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Now it's time to install the algorithm for peak performance. This is the very heart of karma yoga, which, is really just a psychological hack for achieving a state of effortless action. It's what we today would call flow. I want you to think about your brain like a computer with a certain amount of RAM. For most of us, when we're doing something important, our focus is split. Maybe 70% of our energy is on the actual task, but a full 30% is just leaking away as anxiety about the outcome. Am I going to succeed? What are they going to think of me? What if I fail? That is a huge waste of processing power. Now, the mind of a true practitioner, a yogi, it looks like this. 100%. All of their mental energy is poured into the process, into the action itself. And here's the paradox. By completely letting go of obsessing over the result, they free up all their resources to perform at their absolute best, which, ironically, usually leads to much better results anyway. This is the core principle, and it's stated so powerfully. This isn't just pretty poetry. The Gita presents it as a mechanical law of the universe. Your domain is the effort. The outcome is the result of a million different variables that are totally outside your control. So focus only on what you can control, the quality of your action, right here, right now.
Okay, let's go another level deeper into the system. The Gita says you're not just one single static personality. A better way to think about it is that you're a dynamic mix of three fundamental energies, or gunas. And learning how to manage these is the real key to self-mastery.
So let's break down these three operating modes. First, there's tamas. This is inertia, darkness. It's that feeling of being lazy, depressed, just stuck. Then you have rajas. This is all about motion and passion. It's your ambition, your drive, but it's also the restlessness and anxiety that comes with it. And finally, there's sattva. This is balance, light, clarity. It's that state of calm, focused wisdom. And the crucial thing to get is that all of us are a mix of these three all the time. And here's the practical game plan. If you're stuck in tamas, you're procrastinating, feeling totally unmotivated, don't try to just sit and meditate your way out of it. It won't work. You need rajas. You need action. Go for a run, tackle a hard project, do something to break that inertia. Then, once you're moving in that fiery rajasic state, you use discipline to regulate that restless energy, to channel it and achieve the balance of sattva. And the final step? You learn to transcend all of them by becoming a neutral observer to your own energy states. And this leads us to the final, most profound shift in perspective, the ultimate upgrade for your mental operating system. It's about moving from being an actor who's lost in the drama of your life to simply becoming the audience. The Gita makes this incredible distinction. On one side, you have the field. That's your body, your mind, your emotions, your skills, basically everything about you that's constantly changing. But on the other side is the knower. That's the pure, silent, unchanging consciousness that just observes the field. See, the fundamental mistake we all make is we think we are the field, but you're not your sadness. You are the one observing the feeling of sadness pass through your mind. And that tiny little gap between the observer and the observed, that's where all of your freedom is. Which all leads to Krishna's final and maybe most radical instruction. After explaining all of these complex systems, he basically says, now abandon it all. Stop overthinking, stop calculating, stop trying to micromanage reality. Just align yourself with the flow of the universe and act from a place of trust. It's kind of like a master jazz musician. They learn all the theory, all the scales, all the rules, so that in the moment of performance, they can forget it all and just surrender to the music.
So we end with a question for you. If you could really internalize this user's manual, if you could truly detach your sense of self from the outcome of your actions, what would you attempt? What would you build? What would you do if you were finally, truly, no longer afraid to fail? That's the challenge the Gita leaves us with.